Emma Clarke had spent 3 weeks investigating numbers no one at Whitmore Capital wanted her to question. The company was preparing to acquire the Bellini Hotel Group, a chain of luxurious properties across Italy. On paper, the acquisition looked flawless. But Emma had found duplicated renovation invoices, suspicious supplier contracts, and millions of euros transferred through companies that appeared to exist only on paper. Every executive she approached gave her the same warning: stop investigating. Emma refused. On Monday morning, she received an invitation to the executive conference room. She entered expecting to lose her job. Instead, she found Daniel Mercer waiting for her. Daniel was Whitmore Capital's youngest executive director. He was intelligent, cold, and infuriatingly difficult to read. He had rejected Emma's first request to investigate the Bellini accounts. Now, he pushed an airline ticket across the table. The destination was Rome. "You're going to Italy," Daniel said. Emma stared at him. "Am I being fired in Italy?" "You're leading a confidential audit." She looked at the ticket again. "Why me?" "Because you noticed what everyone else ignored." Then Daniel stood and buttoned his jacket. "Our flight leaves tomorrow." Emma looked up sharply. "Our flight?" Daniel's expression remained calm. "I'm coming with you." The journey began badly. A violent storm forced their flight to land in Florence instead of Rome. Their luggage disappeared, the rental car company lost their reservation, and every nearby hotel was full. By midnight, Emma and Daniel were driving south in a small rental car. Daniel kept his eyes on the road while Emma reviewed financial documents on her laptop. "You've been staring at those numbers for 4 hours," he said. "They make more sense than you do." "That isn't difficult." Emma glanced at him. "Was that a joke?"
No.
She almost smiled. Almost. Hours later, another storm closed the coastal highway. They stopped at a small countryside inn, only to discover that one room remained. Emma crossed her arms. "I'm not sharing a room with you. There are 2 beds. I would rather sleep in the car." Daniel handed his credit card to the innkeeper. "You're taking the room. What about you?" "I'll sleep downstairs." The answer surprised her. Later that night, Emma found him asleep in an armchair beside the empty fireplace. His jacket was folded beneath his head. He looked nothing like the untouchable executive everyone feared. He looked tired, human. Emma quietly covered him with a blanket. Daniel's eyes opened. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he whispered, "You shouldn't trust me." They reached the Bellini Grand Hotel shortly before sunset. The building stood on a cliff overlooking the Mediterranean, surrounded by white stone terraces, gardens, and bright purple flowers. Emma stopped beside the car. "This place is incredible." Daniel said nothing. His entire body had become tense. An elegant older woman waited at the entrance. She wore a black dress and carried herself with the confidence of someone accustomed to being obeyed. The moment she saw Daniel, her expression changed. "You came back," she said. Daniel did not respond. The woman's gaze moved toward Emma. "You must be Miss Clarke." Emma frowned. How do you know my name?" "I know everyone my son brings into my hotel." Emma turned toward Daniel. "Your son?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "Emma, this is Sofia Bellini, the owner of the Bellini Hotel Group, the same woman whose company Whitmore Capital was trying to acquire." Sofia stepped closer to Daniel. 12 years without a call," she said. "Now you return with auditors." Emma felt the ground shift beneath her. "You told me you had never worked with the Bellini family." "I haven't, but you are part of it." Daniel looked toward the hotel. "It's complicated." Sofia gave a cold laugh.
No, Daniel.
"It is very simple." She looked directly at Emma. "My son has been lying to you." Emma followed Daniel into his hotel suite and closed the door behind them. "Start talking." Daniel removed his jacket slowly. "My real name is Daniel Bellini." Emma stared at him. "You are the heir to the company we're investigating." "Yes." "And you thought that wasn't important?" "I thought it would compromise the investigation." "You compromised it the moment you got on that plane." Daniel walked toward the balcony. "My father created the Bellini Group. After he died, my mother expected me to take his place." "So you ran away?" "I was 22. I wanted a life that belonged to me. And now you work for the company trying to buy your family's business." Daniel looked at her. I didn't know Whitmore Capital was targeting Bellini when I joined them. But you know now. Yes. Then why are you helping them? I'm not. Emma hesitated. Daniel lowered his voice. Someone is draining money from the hotel group. If the company collapses, my mother will be forced to sell. You think someone at Whitmore is involved? I think someone wants both my family and me out of the way. Emma studied him. For the first time, she saw fear beneath his composure. Not fear for himself. Fear for his mother. Why did you bring me here? She asked. Because you're the only person who saw the fraud without being told where to look. His eyes held hers. And because I needed someone I could trust. The following morning, Emma met Sophia Bellini alone. Sophia invited her to breakfast on a terrace overlooking the sea. My son told you he left because he wanted another life, Sophia said.
He did.
That is partly true. Emma set down her coffee. What is the other part? Sophia looked toward the water. The night Daniel left, he accused his father's closest business partner of stealing from the company. What happened? No one believed him. Not even me. Daniel had discovered missing money shortly before his father's death. When he demanded an investigation, the board threatened to remove him from the family trust. Then Daniel disappeared. Sophia had believed he abandoned them. Daniel had believed his mother chose the company over him. For 12 years, neither had tried to repair the damage. Sophia looked at Emma. Daniel did not return for me. He came to save the company.
No.
He came because the same theft has started again. Emma felt a chill. When Daniel entered the terrace, Sophia stood. You should tell her everything, she said. Daniel did not answer. Sophia turned to Emma. Especially, who created the company receiving the missing money. Daniel's expression changed. Emma looked between them. What company? Sophia walked away. Daniel remained silent. Emma opened her laptop and searched the records. The shell company was called Mariner Holdings. The owner's name was hidden. But Daniel already knew exactly who it belonged to. Emma wanted to remain suspicious of Daniel. That became more difficult every day. Together, they interviewed accountants, examined old contracts, and traced payments through a network of false suppliers. During the day, Daniel was controlled and focused. At night, something changed. He took Emma to small restaurants far from the tourists. He showed her the beach where he had learned to swim and the garden his father had planted for Sophia. Emma discovered that Daniel spoke 4 languages, hated olives, and remembered the names of employees who had worked at the hotel when he was a child. Daniel learned that Emma supported her younger sister, drank tea when nervous, and had once wanted to become a pianist. Why did you stop playing? He asked. Life became expensive. They sat together on the private beach, their shoes abandoned in the sand. Daniel watched her. You hide behind your work. Emma raised an eyebrow. That is an interesting accusation coming from you. I know. Their shoulders touched. Neither moved away. Emma looked at him. Was bringing me here only about the investigation? Daniel's gaze dropped to her lips.
No.
The answer barely left his mouth before he kissed her. The first kiss was gentle. The second carried 12 years of regret, loneliness, and restraint. Then Emma's phone rang. She pulled away. The screen displayed an unknown number. When she answered, a distorted voice said, Daniel Bellini is using you. The caller hung up before Emma could respond. Daniel immediately asked for the number. She held the phone away. Who knew we were on the beach? Anyone at the hotel could have seen us leave. The caller knew your real name. So, do several people here? Emma studied him. Do they also know you're supposedly using me? Daniel's face hardened. I am not using you. You brought me into an investigation without telling me your connection to it. I was protecting the integrity of the audit. You were controlling what I knew. Daniel stepped closer. You think I don't understand the difference? Emma did not answer. Later that evening, she received an envelope under her door. Inside was a photograph of Daniel meeting a man in Rome 3 weeks earlier. The man was Richard Whitmore, the CEO of Whitmore Capital. On the back of the photograph, someone had written, they planned this trip together. Emma confronted Daniel in the hotel library. Why were you meeting Whitmore? Daniel glanced at the photograph. Because he wanted me to stop the audit. And what did you tell him? That I would. Emma went still. Daniel continued. I needed him to believe I was cooperating. You lied to the CEO. Yes. You lied to your mother. Yes. You lied to me. His silence was enough. Emma stepped away. Daniel reached for her arm, but stopped himself. I am trying to save this company. Maybe. Emma looked at the photograph again. But I no longer know who you're saving it from. Emma spent the night tracing the shell company receiving the missing money. Mariner Holdings had no employees, no visible offices, and no business activity beyond receiving millions from Bellini accounts. Its ownership records were protected by several layers of corporate registration. Emma found a way through. Daniel stood behind her as the final document opened. The owner's name appeared on the screen. Daniel Mercer. Emma stared at it. Daniel did not speak. You own Mariner Holdings. It is not what you think. 12 million euros disappeared into a company registered under your name. I can explain. Then explain. Daniel looked toward the door. I can't. Emma laughed bitterly. Of course you can't. She reopened the document. The company had been created 7 years earlier, long before Whitmore Capital began the Bellini acquisition. Daniel's signature appeared at the bottom. It was real. This isn't a recent setup, Emma said. You created this company yourself. Yes. Why? I cannot tell you yet. Emma closed the laptop. You brought me to Italy to investigate stolen money that leads directly to you.
No.
Then what was I supposed to find? Daniel stepped closer. The truth. This is the truth. It is only the part someone wants you to see. Emma's voice broke despite her effort to control it. Was the kiss part of the investigation too? Daniel's expression softened.
No.
Then prove it. He said nothing. Emma called Richard Whitmore from her hotel room. She told him about Mariner Holdings, Daniel's ownership, and the missing millions. Whitmore listened in silence. Then he said, I suspected Daniel was involved. Emma gripped the phone. You sent him to investigate himself?
No.
I sent you to expose him. The word struck harder than she expected. The trip had never been Daniel's investigation. It had been hers. Whitmore instructed Emma to copy every document and return to London immediately. You have done exceptional work, he said. Do not allow your personal feelings to compromise it. Emma looked toward Daniel's suite across the courtyard. How do you know about my personal feelings? Whitmore paused. Daniel has a pattern of manipulating people. The call ended. Emma packed her luggage. Before leaving, she entered Daniel's suite one final time. He was gone. On the desk was an envelope with her name on it. Inside was a copy of the Mariner Holdings registration and a handwritten message. Trust the evidence. Not me. Asterisk, asterisk. Emma read the sentence repeatedly. If Daniel wanted her to believe he was innocent, why would he tell her not to trust him? Then she noticed another document. It was a confession. Daniel had signed a statement accepting responsibility for every fraudulent transaction. Emma heard voices in the corridor. Hotel security entered the room. Miss Clarke, one officer said, Where is Daniel Bellini? She looked down at the confession. Daniel had disappeared. Daniel was found in the hotel lobby shortly before midnight. He stood beside Sophia as Italian financial police entered through the main doors. Employees and guests gathered around them. Emma pushed through the crowd. Daniel. He turned toward her. The police officer read the charges: fraud, corporate theft, and falsification of financial records. Sophia looked devastated. You told me you came back to save us, she whispered. Daniel said nothing. The officers placed him in handcuffs. Emma held up the confession. Why did you sign this? Daniel met her eyes. Because it was necessary. For what? He looked toward the upper balcony. Emma followed his gaze, but saw only shadows. Someone was watching. Daniel lowered his voice. Take the evidence to London. I already sent it to Whitmore. For the first time, fear crossed his face. You did what? You told me to trust the evidence. Not Whitmore. The officers pulled Daniel away. Emma followed them toward the entrance. Tell me the truth. Daniel stopped. For one moment, every emotion he had hidden appeared in his expression. Regret.
Fear. Love.
Then he said, The truth will only survive if they believe you betrayed me. The officers led him outside. Emma stood frozen beneath the hotel lights. She had thought Daniel was relieved to be arrested. Now she understood. He had wanted someone to see it happen. Emma returned to London alone. Whitmore Capital welcomed her like a hero. Richard Whitmore announced that Daniel had been suspended and that the Bellini acquisition would proceed immediately. With the heir accused of fraud and Sophia facing bankruptcy, the family would be forced to sell. Emma was offered a promotion, a private office, a large bonus. She refused to sign the contract. Something did not make sense. Daniel had created Mariner Holdings, but the company had remained inactive for years. The first stolen payment entered the account only 6 months earlier. The same month Whitmore Capital began the acquisition. Emma reopened the archived records. Mariner Holdings had not been created to receive stolen money. It had originally been part of an employee ownership plan. Daniel's father had wanted to transfer shares of the hotel group to its staff. After his death, the plan was abandoned. Someone had discovered the dormant company and used Daniel's ownership to frame him. Emma examined the transaction logs again. Every payment authorization appeared to come from Bellini systems, but the encryption keys had been generated in London. Inside Whitmore Capital, Emma's phone rang. Richard Whitmore's assistant informed her that the Bellini family had agreed to sell. The signing would happen in 48 hours. Emma looked at the evidence on her screen. Daniel was innocent, and she had helped the real criminal win. Emma returned to the handwritten note Daniel had left behind. Trust the evidence. Not me. Asterisk, asterisk. She examined the paper beneath a desk lamp. Several letters had been pressed unusually hard. She shaded the page with a pencil. A second message appeared beneath the first. Audio file, 17B. Emma searched the case folders until she found file 17. Folder B appeared empty. Then she enabled hidden files. An audio recording opened. Richard Whitmore's voice filled the room. Once Bellini is insolvent, Sophia will have no choice. Daniel will take the blame, and the analyst will confirm the evidence.
A second man asked,
What if she discovers the source of the transfers? She won't. She trusts numbers more than people. Emma stopped the recording. Whitmore had known exactly how she would react. He had used her integrity against her. Daniel had known the recording existed, but he could not give it to her directly without revealing that he was investigating Whitmore. The confession, the arrest, and the betrayal were all meant to create a false victory. Emma copied the recording to several secure drives. Then she noticed the date. The conversation had been recorded 3 weeks before Daniel invited her to Italy. He had known Whitmore was planning to frame him. He had also known Emma would be part of the plan. Emma whispered, You chose me from the beginning. But she still did not know whether Daniel had chosen her because he trusted her, or because she was easy to manipulate. Emma requested an emergency board meeting. Richard Whitmore entered the conference room smiling. I heard you reconsidered the promotion. I did. Emma connected her laptop to the presentation screen. I'm accepting a new position. Whitmore sat at the head of the table. Excellent. But not here. The first document appeared. It showed the transfers to Mariner Holdings. The second showed that every transaction originated from Whitmore Capital's private acquisition network. The third showed insurance policies that would pay Whitmore millions if the Bellini Group collapsed before the sale. Whitmore's smile disappeared. This is fabricated. Emma played the recording. His own voice filled the room. Board members stared at him. Whitmore stood. Where did you get that? From the man you tried to frame. The conference room doors opened. Daniel walked inside. He looked exhausted, but he was free. Emma's chest tightened. Whitmore pointed at him. You planned this. Daniel shook his head.
No.
Emma solved it. Security officers entered behind him. Whitmore attempted to reach the laptop, but 2 guards restrained him. As he was escorted from the room, he looked at Emma. You think he loves you? Emma said nothing. Whitmore smiled coldly. Ask him why you were selected for the trip.
The doors closed.
Emma turned toward Daniel. Why did you choose me? His silence returned. And this time, she was no longer willing to accept it. Daniel followed Emma to the rooftop terrace. You knew Whitmore planned to use me, she said. Yes. You knew before you invited me to Italy. Yes. Then why did you choose me? Daniel took a folded document from his coat. It was an internal Whitmore Capital report. Emma's name appeared at the top. The report contained performance evaluations, private communications, and a recommendation that she be removed from the Bellini case if she continued questioning the accounts. Whitmore had been monitoring her for months. He had already chosen you, Daniel said. Emma looked up. What? Whitmore needed an honest analyst to discover evidence against me. Someone who would believe the numbers and refuse to be pressured. So, you brought me close to protect me? At first, Daniel looked away. I thought I could control the investigation. Then I began to care about you. You still let me believe you were guilty. If Whitmore suspected we were working together, he would have destroyed the recording and moved the money. You decided what I was allowed to know. Yes. You decided what risks I was allowed to take. Yes. You used my feelings to make the betrayal believable. Pain crossed his face. Yes. Emma handed the document back. You saved the company. Daniel shook his head. We saved it.
No.
You built a plan around me without asking whether I wanted to be part of it. I know. Emma turned to leave. Daniel did not stop her. I was prepared to lose my career, he said. I was prepared to lose my family's company.
She paused.
I was not prepared to lose you. Emma looked back at him. Then you should have trusted me with the truth. 6 months later, Emma returned to Italy. Not as an analyst. Not as an investigator. She was now the director of the Bellini Employee Trust. Mariner Holdings had finally fulfilled its original purpose. 40% of the hotel group now belonged to the employees who had spent their lives building it. Sophia had reconciled with Daniel. The Bellini group was recovering. Emma had forgiven Daniel slowly. Not because he had been right, because he had admitted where he had been wrong. On her first evening back, Daniel invited her to walk along the private beach. They stopped where they had first kissed. I have something for you, he said. Emma crossed her arms. If it is a confidential document, I am going back to London. No documents. He reached into his pocket. Emma's heart stopped. But instead of a ring, Daniel removed 2 airline tickets. The destination was Paris. What is this? A vacation. No meetings?
No.
No audits?
No.
No secret companies? None. No arrests. I am hoping to avoid them. Emma smiled. Daniel held out the tickets. This time, I booked separate hotel rooms. Emma pretended to consider it. That was a mistake. She pulled him closer and kissed him. Their first journey had begun with lies, suspicion, and a crime neither of them understood. Their next journey would begin with the truth. Emma believed the trip to Italy would determine the future of her career. Instead, it exposed an international conspiracy, saved a family business, and forced her to confront the man she had every reason not to trust. Daniel believed love meant protecting Emma from the truth. He learned that real love meant allowing her to stand beside him, even when the truth became dangerous. Their story did not begin with a romantic vacation. It began with a confidential audit, a cancelled flight, and a hotel hiding millions of euros in secrets. But sometimes the most unforgettable love stories begin when 2 people leave home for business and return with something far more valuable than the deal they were sent to close. Would you have forgiven Daniel after discovering the truth? Tell us in the comments. And subscribe to Velvet Tales for more billionaire romance stories, secret identities, unexpected betrayals, and unforgettable second chances.